Introducing Zach Davis and Josh Anderson with the SoundMoney Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of SoundMoney, Sound Principles Podcast. My name is Josh Anderson here with Zach Davis. How are you today, Zach?
I'm good, Josh. How's it going?
It is awesome. What a crazy few days. We've been busy, you know. It's actually a good thing just to get together with the listeners for a minute because we've been so crazy busy that I've actually been looking forward to just a few minutes of peace and quiet. And so we're excited today for, you'd agree, right? It's been crazy last 7 days for all of us, for you and I.
Yeah, it's insane. Out of town over the weekend, visiting some other businesses the last couple of days. Yeah, it's been wild.
Yeah, it's good to be in our own offices for just a minute and a spot to sit down. And today, you know, man, we had a little bit of craziness. I want to start out tonight, Zach, today and revert back to yesterday. So did you get a chance to watch or at least see the highlights of this? We can't call it the State of the Union because President Trump's technically the president. Year one, you don't get a State of the Union. But this joint session of Congress that he just held, which is the State of the Union that he held last night, did you get a chance to see this?
Yeah, I got to see most of it. I didn't catch the first part of it, but I caught most of the back half of it. Really interesting.
You know, there's so many things to take away from that for me that are just incredible. You know, first of all, I'm a political junkie, right? I haven't missed a State of the Union address for any president going back to when I was 18. So quite a few years. I've never missed one. I love them. But this for me was like a transformational. This was different than anything I've ever seen, right? When a brand new president come in and tout so many positive things that he's done, whether you like him or not, doesn't matter to me. Absolutely on a sprinter's pace, sprinting to everything, right? So for me, it was incredible to listen, you know, to have him share some of that stuff. But I had some pretty big takeaways for me last night. I'd love to hear, I'll share mine in a second, but I'd love to hear, Zach, what are some takeaways? What are some things that you took away that were like maybe really important things for you and made your brain think differently about business or about our country or about anything? What did you take away or some takeaways there?
Yeah, I had several actually from last night, from the portions that I heard, and actually some of the things that it was more of what I saw than what I heard that I thought was really interesting. You know, some of the key things that I thought were really important for me coming out of this, just as an entrepreneur and thinking about business, is we've talked about tariffs before, right? And everybody's really scared of these tariffs. Trudeau came out actually before the speech yesterday and spoke to the American people, and then spoke directly to President Trump and basically said, we're not backing down, right? And this doesn't make sense. We've always been friends as nations. We're good partners, and it's going to turn the rest of the world against us. What are we doing, right? And basically called out Trump as, don't do this. And what I thought was really interesting is as Trump started going through his speech last night and laying out his plan and what they had already done, and then lots of things that he wanted to do, it was very pro-American. And like if you think about just American principles and what's good for America, and I know there's this idea of like, well, we need to take care of the rest of the country and we need to do all this too, but it's hard to debate the fact that the country is falling apart infrastructure wise. I mean, it's just, we've had some struggles in the U.S. And so to hear him lay this out and say America first, but then what was interesting is all of these different principles that he laid out to say America first in all the different areas, I can totally understand that when he gets up and says, drill baby drill, right? And frack baby frack, we're going to go after the liquid gold in the ground. And that should be a really polarizing statement, right? So you should see half of that chamber sit on their hands and half of that chamber should like applaud, right? Because we know in our economic or in our political society today, the two different parties, one's really pro oil and gas and one's really not pro oil and gas, right? So that one makes total sense to me. But what was interesting to me last night, I think the most interesting thing for me last night is we have gotten to a place politically where there's you cannot even hear a good idea simply because of the mouth it's coming from. There were some things he did last night and some things that he said. I mean, when you free an American citizen that's been enslaved and you promise his 91-year-old mother that you're going to do that and you keep your promise, it shouldn't matter what color or what side of the aisle you're on. That should be a great American principle that we freed someone. And to watch half that chamber sit on their hands and actually not applaud that, I mean, that should have got a standing ovation from everyone, right? So I was actually really disappointed in our public servants in Congress last night after watching that, going, we hate each other so bad that it doesn't matter what good idea, and this is either side, by the way. I mean, it's not just a hatred towards Trump, but it seems like even the Republican side, that, I mean, you have all these great ideas that are brought up. We should be thinking and innovating. And to have one side just all of a sudden be like, nope, that's the dumbest idea we ever heard, and the only reason it's dumb is because of whose mouth it came out of, right? That was a big takeaway for me last night. We have a long ways to go to heal this country and bridge that gap.
And I had a couple of takeaways around that too, right? How can we not all come together for 13-year-old boy that's cancer survivor that we're making an honorary Secret Service agent? Like, come on. And then
That's
I had
huge.
it's huge, right? And naming national or state parks after young women that were killed by illegal immigrants, right? Like these are principles and ideas that we can all get behind. I had the epiphany, Zach, that those people that sat on their hands absolutely do not represent anyone, because everyone else, maybe some small fringe minority they represent, because no Democrat I know would not applaud that and be excited. So yeah, I'm with you, but I don't think it's a slice of American society. I think it's a slice of the political parties, because there isn't a Democrat across the South that I know that wasn't happy for those things last night. There's not, my personal friends that are Democrats are super excited about what's happening with waste and abuse and cutting fraud out of our government. They're disgusted too that Social Security may have a $1.5 trillion worth of fraud. They want to know that answer, and they want to get to the bottom of it. So, I, like you, at first was disgusted in those individuals, but I realized it was those individuals. It's not a swath of American people. And so that was kind of one of my takeaways. One of the things that I'm like you, right? We're involved in so many different business verticals that, there's some that are greatly benefited by the talk of tariff. There's some that are, in struggle mode because of the talk of tariffs. But I learned something in the middle of that speech, again, for me, a principle that my grandfather taught me, that I know you and I have talked about before. In life and in business, nothing great happens without great struggle, right? And possibly all of my great experiences in business that have been massive home runs have all been on the verge of destruction moments before they were great. True?
100%. 100%.
So I have the epiphany.
Innovation.
Exactly, right? So I had the epiphany for me listening to him again last night, and this whole Trudeau, that guy might be the biggest idiot on the planet. By the way, if you're a Canadian, you voted for that jackass, like, we probably can't be friends. I'm just gonna be straight up. Probably shouldn't listen to the pod, right? Like, Zach, I don't know. Sorry. Anyway, by the way, who did vote for that dumbass? Anyway,
I don't think anybody did. I think he just put himself in.
Probably so. But the epiphany that came to me about this whole tariff thing, right? There's going to be some difficulties. There's going to be some difficulties before the greatness, before the breakthrough. But the breakthroughs are so freaking big. Like Apple, $100 billion back into the U.S. economy for jobs. Did you see this, Zach? Like Taiwan Semiconductor, $120 billion
$120 billion.
to Arizona, to the state of Arizona. I got to think about this. Like, we're talking about over in China, they're planning on this summer or next year blockading. If you know what a blockade is, ships around an island, no goods get in, blockading Taiwan. That could be the most devastating thing to the U.S. economy today. Almost every semiconductor we use today, in vast majorities, comes from Taiwan or China. Since COVID, we've taken most of that, we've shifted that buying as American companies to Taiwan. If there's a blockade around China, we can't get a semiconductor, except for the ones that got put in Boise, Idaho recently, and Micron, what they're doing. But yeah, congratulations on that, by the way. So by them committing $120 billion to move to Arizona because of tariffs, because of the tariffs that just got put in place and the talk of bigger tariffs, that is bringing home innovation to its homeland. We are the land of innovation. And so, yeah, is there going to be some things that are a little hard for a little bit? Yeah. But look what it's already doing, Zach. This is big time innovation. And my other takeaway on that front, I thought it was maybe BS. There's a lot of BS on the internet. Like, you can't really flip on your phone and trust anything on the internet. By the way, Zach and I play a lot with these AI algorithms. Hey, you better not trust anything anymore. But so I saw these things that all about Canadians, right? I saw that the Canadian government places a 200% tariff on our beef. I thought that is such BS. But then I thought, if you were going to lie, you wouldn't lie with the number 200% tariff, right? You wouldn't do that. So I called a friend who actually is in that space, right? They ship cows. They're a cattle buyer. They buy and sell cows. So they don't own cows. They're like anything in this world, they're a middleman. And I said, hey, is this true? His name's Tony. I said, Tony, is this true? Is there a 200% tariff by the Canadians on our beef? And he says, it's been that way for as long as I know, Josh. We haven't sent a cow up there since mad cow disease came out, which you got to remember, that's like
long time ago,
15, 20 years ago, right? I said, so you're telling me we take their cows, but we can't ship a cow up there? I said, yes. That's BS, right? Bury them sons of bees, Zach. Like, I'm in with Trump. Like, this is bury them. You're going to play in the same sandbox.
Pretty uneven trade balance, right? Why would we do that to our economy? Why would we give away our economy to another country and not be able to get something back in return? It doesn't make sense to me.
And this is what's dumb, right? Hey, I was in college. I'm a political science major, right? That's where my degree's in. Guess what? I was in college when NAFTA was signed. I thought we did away with all that crap called NAFTA, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what's been going on pre-NAFTA? Do you know grain's the same way? Over 50% tariffs on grain, barley, for American barley to go. So I'm saying, you know what? Praise what Trump and the team are doing. Will it be difficult? Will it be a little bit hard for a few things? Yeah, but guess what? We're going to make it come home to roost. And so that was one of my takeaways too, Zach. It was pretty impressive for me. And I also, speaking about innovation, I listened to that speech and went, as an entrepreneur, I'm out here fighting the battle on the front lines every day of my life to create jobs, to create better opportunities for other families that don't see the world like I see it or you see it. When I listen to him speak, I go, now is the moment of opportunity. This is like step forward, whatever you're trying to do in the world, you better double down your efforts because now is the day. And so those are some of my takeaways. I thought it was excellent. And
yeah, and I think, and like what you mentioned before, like that restraint, like that friction. I mean, if you think about it, America has been asleep for the last 8-10 years. Like we have not really innovated much. It's been okay. Like there's this feeling of we're not in this huge economic doom and gloom, which, by the way, I think is interesting because, before when President Biden was in, nobody could say that we had a bad economy. Like everybody was, mainstream media was like, oh, economy's great. Right now, all of a sudden that Trump's in, now all of a sudden it's, hey, why aren't you fixing the economy? It's like, well, hold on. For it to be fixed means it needs to not be good, right? So now all of a sudden now we're getting this realization that we haven't had a good economy, which I think is interesting. But you really think about the last several years, it's like, what has really happened? What is really good has happened? But when you start piling on all these things that seem to be potential pain points, it wakes innovation up, right? And when you hit a limiting factor and you have entrepreneurs out there who are not okay with the status quo and they go, why do we do it this way? And then they start thinking through the problem and start innovating. Well, guess what happens? All that innovation starts to turn into jobs, because those people start thinking we can do this differently. So we come up with a different way to do it. A whole new industry is born. Look at the dot-com bubble. Like when internet came out, it's like everybody's like, oh, nobody's going to work anymore. That's going to take all the jobs away. Look what it did for jobs. Like it increased efficiencies in the workplace and it added jobs. It didn't take away jobs. So you look at even AI. There's this feeling of, oh, AI is going to take away all these jobs. Guys, there are industries that have not even been born yet because of what AI will allow us to do. And that will bring tons of jobs. So I think the period that we're in right now is really interesting because, the tariffs, some of these other things Trump is doing, it's like an artificial restraint that's being put on innovators. And they're going to go, not okay with paying 25% more, not okay with paying 200% more. We're going to figure out how to do something different to work around that. And that is exactly why, look, Trump is not putting a 25% tariff on Canada because he hates Canada.
No.
He's not putting a tariff on any other country because he hates the country. He's putting a tariff on all these people because there really is an unfair trade balance. And we've been giving away all of our resources and all of our technology and all of our ideas to all these other countries. And he's saying, hold on, America used to be the land of innovation. What these tariffs really are is him putting this restriction in, and it is going to wake up innovation, not only in America, but all over the world. You mentioned $120 billion coming to Arizona from Taiwan. Would they have ever done that? Ever without these tariffs? No, but guess what? It's going to come here. And innovation is going to happen. It's going to create more jobs. There's going to be more tax revenue going into the system. There is so much opportunity right now. It's hard to decide what to do. Actually,
well, it's hard to decide what to do. And Zach, you and I are part of this. I can't tell you how many times in life we went to buy something that we need. Right? We've got a business. We got a problem. We need something. It's happened to us this last 2 years, and we started a new company. That's like, oh my goodness, we can't even swat away the opportunities, right? There's too many opportunities. But it came because of we were trying to do something really innovative. We hired a company to come in and do it for us, a robotics company, to provide a service. They were one of the leading experts in the West United States, right? So we hire them to come in, we get their equipment. And what we want to do had never been done before, right? Well, we just turned it on. It's actually the first time it's ever been done in human history. It's pretty awesome. And sometime we'll probably talk about that. The actual storing of individual collectible items cataloged in the highest density storage ever been done, fully trackable to the individual like a title, right? So we track coins like you would track property between owners and store them in the highest security, highest density way. But anyway, we in the process of doing that, we hire this company. They come in, we spend ridiculous money on robotics, like crazy money, only to have it not work. And then when we dig in, they don't have any solutions. They say we can't do it. It's impossible to do today. Then we find that we think we got a better solution, and we contact a company who actually categorizes and stores every shoe for Nike and Adidas and Puma. Right? Remember, and we're so excited because they've got a solution. They have a solution to how we want to do this high density storage, all robotic storage, no humans in a whole warehouse, right? And we're super excited, only to have them tell us, well, the build out's 20 million, and we only work with companies like Google, or only work with companies like Nike and Puma, and we're going, wait a minute. What about us? Your solution will absolutely fit our problem. And this problem we think is massive in the world, and it can go to it. They gave us the bird finger, man. Like they just blew us off. So us and our other partner, we set out a year ago to give them the bird finger back and to say, we're going to disrupt that space forever. We will put you out of business in the next decade. And hey, we are well on the way. I guarantee you we're going to put them out of business, Zach. I guarantee it. I'm 100% going to guarantee we put them out of business. They won't exist in 5 more years.
Well, it's going to hurt bad.
It's going to hurt damn bad, right? So, because we're all about, in this day and age, there is opportunity to disrupt technology. So when people do certain things a certain way, there's opportunity to disrupt that. And the problem is today, to your point, for the first time ever, there's rays of sunshine again in our U.S. economy, where there is so much innovation that if you're an innovator, if you're in these spaces that we like to play in, there's so much opportunity that you absolutely cannot do but 1/10 or 100th of the opportunities. Do you think that's true?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's interesting. So I'm a big proponent of how what's going on in your mind, right, is more important than what's going on around you. Because if you get this figured out in your mind, you can pretty much create what goes on around you, or you can at least reframe it in a way that you can deal with it, right? And then figure out solutions to it. I was actually up in Canada this weekend with a room full of people.
Oh, gee.
And
I've been talking bad about Canada, our 51st state and our 51st Governor. I think he said Wiener, and you were up there with them. Come on.
Yes, and I was on the western part of the country over in Toronto, which
Eastern.
would not be the part.
Yeah.
Excuse me, eastern part, which would not be the part that would want to be the 51st state, right?
Yeah.
And
by the way, we should probably when we make them the 51st state, we should probably not bring them in. Maybe we can like ship them over to Europe. Any way to do that?
Yeah. I'll get with Trump. We'll figure it out.
You figured that out.
Yeah. But what was interesting is the mindset of the people that were up there was interesting in and of itself. But as we were going through this exercise, and I was giving a presentation on some things that we're doing in one of our companies to make the company better, right, and to make some changes, and there were people started to ask questions, and it was really interesting because I was looking at the questions that they were asking, and all the questions were geared towards almost in their mind that they had proven that this wasn't going to work. And that was what their thinking was, right? And now it's like, okay, my job is to show them how it is going to work. So I had them do this exercise. It was kind of funny. I said, look, here's what I want you to do. Everybody in the room, like this good-sized room, lots of people in there. I said, what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes. Or before you close your eyes, I want you to look around the room, and I want you to find everything that is blue. Memorize everything that is blue. Find it, right? And then I tell them, close your eyes. And as their eyes are closed, I say, okay, just start calling it out. You don't have to raise your hand. Just start calling it out. Tell me everything in this room that is blue. And they're like, the PowerPoint projector, this sign over here, this person's pants, this blah, blah, blah. They just start naming it. They almost got everything that I could find in the room that was blue. And then I said, okay, keep your eyes closed. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell me in the room what is red. There was hardly anything in the room that was red. But there were red items in the room, right? And they couldn't do it. Like, they really struggled telling me anything in the room that was red. And then I said, okay, open your eyes. Find me what's red. And they look around the wall, and there's like, when you walk in a room, they're right in your face. Fire extinguishers. Right? And then the pull down fire alarm things were all over the walls. Right? And I'm like, look, they're all over. And when you were looking for things that were blue, you looked right at all of these red things. So when I asked you to identify the blue things, why could you identify them? They're like, because that's what we were looking for, right? And I'm like, then why couldn't you find the things that were red? Because they're still in this room. And the realization came to them was, whatever you focus on is what you're going to find. And right now, there's a lot of people focusing on how bad pet tariffs are going to be, or how bad the economy is, or how bad egg prices are, or how bad, the orange man is, or all this stuff. And it's like, guys, the opportunity is in the room. And if you just stop focusing on everything that you think is going wrong and everything that you think is bad, and you start looking, you're going to notice opportunity everywhere. We were down in Louisiana, over by Louisiana not too long ago, looking at a project we're doing. We're driving down the road for people who have eyes to see and know the opportunity. I'm looking around going, holy cow, I know what that is. That's a stack of drill pipe, all fresh, ready to go. Massive. There's a whole bunch of 500 or 5,000 barrel upright tanks right there, ready to go. Like, you start seeing all of these shipping yards with all these new supplies in it, and I'm going, the oil is about to boom right here again. This is a destitute town, not a lot going on, but I know what opportunity looks like.
There's jobs about to happen there.
Yeah, so I look at that and I go, holy cow, normally someone would drive through that town and go, this is a dumpy little town. There's nothing going on. When I drove through the town, I could see all the red, right? I'm like, there's opportunity right there. There's opportunity right there. And it's going to be about what people focus on right now, right? And and what are you going to go do about it? Because the opportunities are everywhere.
I love that trip. For our listeners, what people don't realize, I mean, when Zach, you see that Zach and I sit in these chairs. These are our office chairs. They're comfortable for us. We like being here. But we are only here literally the day that we record this a week.
Yeah, pretty much.
We are gone. And because we just have a lot of business stuff going on in the world. But in that trip, I was like, was that 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
We went to check out a project that we've had going in East Texas. It's been, phenomenal. We've been logging. We have property there and ranches, and we log cypress trees and pine trees. And by the way, for our listeners that are all freaking out that we're destroying the environment, right? Like, we can't log enough to come up with enough trees right now on our properties for the Californians who need to rebuild their houses, right? It's an impossibility. And we're experts in it. Like, I think we had the biggest logging operation in East Texas in the last 2 years. Would that be fair to say? Nobody's logged as much as us. No one.
Yeah.
And so we were down there, and it was so fun for me because we're in this really depressed economy. Really, I mean, the town's really small. It's kind of bayou country, right? It's on the big Cypress River, bayou country. And we've been logging these 3,000 acres this year. And in the process of that, I was really blown away. Because if you went around the town's economically depressed, everybody's down on them. But you go out to our job sites, and these young men, I mean, entrepreneurs, right? All these young men thanking us how they've been able to go out, buy their own semi truck, and we're talking old beater semi trucks, right? We're talking old beater trailers, logging trailers, and they're just elated because they got their own business and they're hauling our logs for $600 about a load. And we're talking to them, right? And we're like, hey, can you guys make money at that? Are you surviving? And they're just happy as happy. They're telling us how it's the best thing that's ever happened in their life. To your point, all their buddies are in town seeing no red, not understanding that there's big players in their community that are out doing things. And if they had a logging truck or, and by the way, it was interesting. We told some of them boys, guess what? You're hauling logs today. You're making $600 a load. Do you see all that pipe stacked up down the street? You see all them upright tanks stacked up down the street? You see all those, that drill stem stacked up down the street? You might need to buy a second truck and get a second driver because semis and haulers are going to be in high demand in your community for the next 4 years, and you're going to get paid a lot more than $600 a load. And so, to your point, entrepreneurs, people who have eyes to see, always see opportunity, and we're in the midst of it. We're in the midst of it right now, so it's kind of fun. So that was a fun trip.
Yeah, and even in some of our other businesses right now, we've restructured some things and we've moved some people, some seats on the bus and done a few different things because we see the age of what we built that company in is not here anymore, right? It's irrelevant. And so even today we're looking at it going, okay, where are the opportunities inside of these business, not just starting a new business, but even in your existing businesses, right? What are the opportunities that lie there? One of our major businesses, we're restructuring in a way going, hey, this is what's coming in the future and where people are going to want to interact and how people are going to want to interact and what they're going to want to do and what they're going to want to buy and how they're going to want to store things. And so right now we're making those tweaks in our businesses to prepare for all of that growth that's coming, not only US and international, right? Because we're excited about the opportunity of all of this stuff happening right now and all these negative things that everybody talks about on the news, they are creating opportunities everywhere.
For us, Zach, I mentioned earlier that the tariff discussion hurts some of our businesses and it makes some of them freaking incredible. This one we're talking about now, right, is a company where, having tariffs placed on other nations makes that business explode.
100%.
Because we provide something for the world that the world cannot provide for itself. And so that's just it, right? I used to listen to a guy, right? You can go listen to some of his old stuff named Jim Rohn. I used to really like his motivational speeches, right? And I used to love something that he used to say, he used to say that the wind of opportunity blows on everyone's sail, right? And what really matters is the set of your sail, how you set yourself. If you set your sail against the wind, it's going to carry you to fortune. If you set your sail against the wind, right, then there's no progress. And he used to say things like, hey, if the Republicans are in power, I can't make money. If the Democrats are in power, I can't make money, right? He said, no. You got to think of it as I may have to change the set of my sail. These tariffs and these business opportunities, I just look at it and go, got to reset the sail. And some businesses, we need to adjust the sail this direction. Others, it's set already properly for them, right? And so it's just been kind of fun to see that.
And it's interesting in one of these businesses, Josh, we've known for years that we really needed to lead with this product, right? We've really needed to make this change years ago, but the timing was such that if we did that, it would disrupt everything and it probably wouldn't be received well. So we've known that our customers really needed it more than what they think they need. And now all of a sudden, because of these things, it's created an opportunity to change the model, to get this product to be out front and center. And it is drastically and wildly changing the face of the business and the speed at which it's growing. Like, it always was the thing that we needed to do.
Yeah.
But the environment wasn't there because everything was okay, right? And if we'd have done it, it would have just been perceived as, oh, that's just another change. But because of all this stuff that's happening now politically and geopolitically around the world, it has created the perfect opportunity to make this adjustment to now really serve our customers in a better way.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about. The reason we went on this topic is you said that the winds of innovation, that the tide of innovation is changing, and we're seeing it, right? And now's the time to participate. Now's the time to play. And it's just been it's been fabulous. Like, the last couple of weeks have been, I wish I had more hours in the day, to accomplish all the things we got to have accomplished, because they're great and many, and all of them have high reward winning probabilities because of the new changes. So it was refreshing to hear Donald Trump talk about that last night, whether, my perspective.
Yeah, no, I thought it was encouraging. And look, I mean, there's some things Donald Trump's doing that I don't particularly agree with, right? But I'm not gonna die on the hill of what I don't agree with him left and not have any life to go live on the things that I can get behind, right? And I was the same way with President Biden. Like, there were a lot of things I did not agree with President Biden, but it created opportunities to go, like, I can either be right or I can be rich. I can have an ego around this and hate the guy, and so then the idea is bad. Or I can go, yeah, I don't like the guy. Dang, that's a pretty good idea. All right, I'm going to go leverage this idea. I look at, I think it's funny because I've heard this several times about somebody said something. I can't even remember who it was in the news. Someone referred to Trump as being a leader like Hitler, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, how interesting. Look, if I was going to name someone in geopolitical history over the last 100 years who is probably one of the single best leaders that I know, Hitler would be at the top of my list.
Oh, geez,
right?
Be careful here.
No, 100%. Hitler would be at the top of my list. Because here's the problem. Here's the problem with most individuals. When they hear leader, they hear agenda.
Yeah.
Leader and agenda is different, right? So it's like, you cannot argue the fact. My definition of leadership is influence. And you can't tell me that Hitler did not have a big influence. He knew how to be a leader. It does not mean that I agree with what he did, right? Or the policies that he used, but the fact that he could influence people, huge leader, right? And you look at, I mean, it's like, so if there was any good idea that came out of any political figure right now, even if I didn't align with them politically, I still would be thinking, that's a really good idea. I don't care if he's on my side of the aisle. I could go make money with that.
Yeah. And that's where you got to look at, right? Where can I win? How can I provide for my family? And how can I do it in a way that it's better next year than it is this year for them? And there's definitely, we need to be learning from everyone in that process. I also, Zach, this last week, been unique, right? Had the opportunities to go check out some of our vendors and see some new opportunities. And I have some takeaways this week. I can't share where we were or what we were doing. One, it might be offensive to people, but not. I said that like we went to some strip club. It's not that. Not offensive like that. But we went to see a competitor in one of our businesses, and they were gracious enough to host us, right, and to check some things out. But through that process, I learned some things about the world needs more and more today innovation than it needs anything else, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Problems that we were dealing with, 5 years ago, they're in the thralls of today, right? When it comes to shipping and how they account for products and we're talking, right? Like, we have companies, Zach, that we ship 50,000 FedEx packages a month, right? At one time, that just a few years ago, that was the fastest growing FedEx client west of the Mississippi River. And so we had to master through innovation and technology how to ship 50,000 packages with 4 employees. You got to think about that, right? Like, so it was in feet. But we went and saw some competitors, and they're in the thralls of it, doing way, way, way less packages with gobs of people. And it just reminded me that the biggest, most important thing you can do today is be involved with people and organizations that are forward thinking and that are using technology. If you're not using technology, you're not going to win. Like, you're just going to get steamrolled in the world. And so for me, this last week, seeing some of those things and being around some of it reminded me that if you're an entrepreneur listening and you're struggling with the ideas of, man, how do I incorporate some technology? We shared with, like, for example, we shared with this group a way that we fixed something, right? Like a real way that we fixed it with technology. And it was kind of sad to see them go, their mind spin and go, oh, we just couldn't even ever begin to dream of the amount of work that would take to do that. But we absolutely need to, but we don't even know if we could ever do it. Oh my goodness. That was like depressing to me, right? Like,
yeah.
Not willing to take the
Pretty
steps.
deflating.
Yeah. It's like, and then I realized they're going to really struggle for a few years until they embrace technology. Like, technology is the answer. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling to embrace technology, you got to do it. Like, you got to embrace it. You got to embrace it every day. If you're writing an email, what are you doing? You're screwing up. If you are manually entering shipping addresses into something so that you can ship it, you're really screwing up. If you're not using robotics to take care of those projects for you, you got to get to it as quick as you can. Like, if you're serious about business. And so those are some takeaways I had this week in some of our travels. Well, maybe we should just have a travel blog, Zach. My hell.
Maybe we should. We'd have a lot of podcasts.
Oh man. Every week we're somewhere learning something. So
well,
I'll give you, go ahead.
And speaking of that, on the way home, I had to take a phone call, and it was somebody that was on the phone saying, hey, I just kind of come into this little bit of a windfall. I got some money. I want to start these businesses, and they live, in a smaller town, and they started listing out the businesses that they wanted to do. Right. And my gut just turned, because the thinking was, I'm like, oh, every one of these businesses that you're going to start is what you're doing is you're creating yourself a job, right? They're not scalable. Like, what you're thinking is so a long time ago, not today. Right. And so the conversation that we ended up having was, what do you really want? Where do you want to go with this? And how can you scale? Right. And so you need to look at what of these businesses that you just mentioned you want to do, that you want to put this money into, which one gives you more time and freedom, and which one scales? And the ones that they mentioned to me, my first thought was, if I can't use technology in that business to help it scale, I don't want any part of it, because it is a multiplier, right? It makes it so you can do things much, much better. So, like you're saying, a lot of people are scared of it, but man, you just got to lean into it. If you don't know about it, hire somebody that can help you, one of your companies, to do it, leverage it, talk to people. I mean, hang around 5 dumb people, you're going to be number 6, right? hang around 5 smart people that understand technology, you're going to be number 6, right? So find out who's using it, even in your same industry. Like, just find out who's using technology and what other businesses are doing, and look at different ways you can innovate and be creative and create more efficiencies for yourself and higher productivity. And I mean, today's a winning age. I mean, there's lots of winning to be had out there today.
There definitely is a lot of winning today, and it's been a breath of fresh air for us. So, Zach, in closing today, I just like to make mention that, really, as you touched on earlier, it's kind of a mindset. You just got to have an opportunity to maybe stop, reflect, pull back, and if you got a dream or something you're chasing, do us a favor. Like, don't give up on it. Make this next week a week that is a positive step in the direction of achieving it. A lot of times it's little baby steps along the way. It's little wins. I think about some of our greatest companies today. Some of our greatest wins. I mean, these are like monstrosity companies that are killing it. They had so many no's. Okay, I'm thinking about one, Zach. I should go back and count. I would have it in my calendar on my iCloud. I would have the number of Zoom meetings that we took over a 2-year period and got told no, can't do it, impossible. It's well over 50, right? Why not? We have to go give the pitch, share the idea, share the vision, what we're trying to accomplish, share some past successes we've had to build some credibility, why they should even listen to us, to only be told no. But all it took was around the 60th or so time to have somebody, in this case, the company that believed in us was a really big giant called Plaid. They believed in us, right? Like, if you don't know that company, every time you log into anything financial, anytime you log into QuickBooks, Plaid's the back end. Anytime you use Venmo, Plaid's the back end. Anytime you use any financial services that you log into on your phone, they're the ones that make that happen. And I don't know, in the 60th attempt around the world, they believed in us. And it made everything change, right? Like, yep. Now, I don't even remember. I couldn't tell you, Zach. It's over a dozen requests that it took just to get a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It was, and my point is, the listeners have a dream. They got something they're working on. They got something they're trying. They got something somebody they're talking to about home-based business. They got something. You got to make steps this week. Sometimes it's baby steps. Sometimes it's leaps. The quicker you can go from baby steps to leaps, the better. But you got to be using every single week to do it. So do us a favor. If you're working on something, plow into it this week and use the winds of change and the opportunity to take advantage of it to make it a reality, because it's worth it. It's always worth it. You may not get what the outcome you're looking for, may not get what you think's your dream, but you're going to get it, something of great value through the process. So that'd be my closing thoughts this week. Zach, your last closing thoughts this week?
Yeah, I agree with you. And look, all those little micro learnings, like people call them failures, right? I just call them learnings. As long as you learn from them, it might be setting you up for the next opportunity that's coming that might be the real opportunity for you, right? What you're chasing right now might not be the thing, but all the things that you're learning, it's going to prepare you for when that does come. So you've got to be willing to go through it. And as one of my spiritual leaders has said, they don't give out ribbons at the finish or at the starting line.
Yeah.
Where do you get your ribbons? So you can't, like, most people are looking for the wins right off the bat, and they want the ribbon quick, and it just doesn't come, right? You got to go through the process, and you got to pay the price. But if you're willing to do it, man, the ribbon comes, and it comes in lots of different ways, and sometimes even better than you expected it to be. So don't give up, don't quit. Just keep going, believe in yourself. You need to take a little break, decompress, whatever, but then get back in and go after it and really fight for what you want. Because, I mean, most people who are listening to this have families and people that they're trying to do this for, right? It's not just about themselves. So don't forget why you really got involved in what you're doing and what difference you were trying to make, and let that push you through to the finish line to get your ribbon, right? Just don't quit. We need more innovators. We need more entrepreneurs who are out there fighting every day, becoming leaders, and that's you guys. So just keep pushing.
Amen, brother. More leaders, teachers, and entrepreneurs that we need in the world. And so we appreciate you. Can't wait to see you next week on the Sound Money, Sound Principles podcast. You guys have a great week. Awesome to be with you today, Zach.
All right. See you guys. Appreciate y'all.